a presentation on how to respond to active assailants. And without any further, the coffee machine is back there if anybody needs a stimulant for this. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Pastor Katie for an opening prayer.
Thank you. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Pastor Katie, the associate pastor here. So again, it's great to be able to welcome Corporal Shiloh, to be able to offer this training. And so let us start with a word of prayer. Oh God, thank you for being our protector, for being someone we can turn to with whatever is going on in our lives, knowing that you can handle it and can give us the support we need. Open our hearts and our minds this evening that we might learn what we need to learn so that we might keep your people here at Nichols-Bethel and throughout our community safer and more secure. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I think. There you go. Hey, I think I'm wired. No way, I'm hands-free. Right? You're not supposed to drive hands-free, and I can't walk with something in my hands. Well, we'll see how that turns out. My name is Jim Shiloh. Corporal is my rank. Jim is my name. That's kind of who I am. So I like Jim. You know. I've been with the police department for about 28 years. I came here from the United States Marine Corps, where I served for 4 years as a military police officer. So I come with about 32 years with the police experience, and I have enough coffee and enough stimulation in my body to last us through the night here. So I can retire anywhere between the next 3 minutes and the next 3 years, which is really nice. I am in my retirement phase. I will only partly promise that we will finish our time together here tonight. And my sergeant's in the back, Steve McBee. So I'll have to behave myself at least a little bit. So that being said, let's get started. This is going to be about an hour and 45 minutes, give or take, okay? We're not going to take a break, because what I learned is if you take a break, I give you 5 minutes, you take 10. And so we are all adults. If you need to get up and use the restroom, please feel free. Where are the restrooms? Does everybody, right? You're there, okay. And so, except for me, because I've already taken care of that, if you need to use the restroom, please go ahead and get up. We're all adults. It's okay. You want to offend me, I'm good to go, right? And so without any further ado, let's get started, right? Do police officers die? Yes. Now we're here for 3 hours. I'm so sorry. Anyhow, no, police officers do not die. Over the next time that we're together, about an hour and 45 minutes, right, we're going to be talking about conditions of the human condition, things that we all suffer from as human beings that walk the face of this earth, right? And I think generally speaking, we have a victim mentality. We're really busy. We're really distracted. We got a lot of stuff going on. We're in the midst of plan A, thinking about plan B, what's plan C, then what's for dinner. You know, the storm is coming, we got our technology, everything is going on, and I think that kind of leads us to this victim mentality and being really distracted. So the goal today is, and my hopes is, that I take you from this potential victim mentality and you leave here a victor. That should resonate to some degree, right, for the community that we're talking about, right? So I get up at about 5 o'clock in the morning, typically when I'm working, and I go out and I have a small farm in Pasadena, Maryland. We have 25 birds, 3 are ducks, 1's a goose, the rest are chickens. We have 3 sheep, 3 goats, Pat the Bunny 2.0, that's a different conversation. We have 2 cats, we have 2 dogs, I have a 2-year-old, and my wife at home. So hopefully they're both sleeping at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? So I get up at 5, put on my barn clothes, and I go out to take care of the animals. During the course of preparing for my day, what kind of attitude do I need to start to prepare myself with? Does it need to be positive or negative? Can that be kind of difficult sometimes? Yeah, it can be. But that being said, there's things that can help us when things get difficult, right? And it's called Scripture. It's called prayer. So if you don't mind, we might have a little bit of church tonight, if that's okay. And so in Deuteronomy 20:1-4, it says the laws of warfare. It says, when you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them. For the Lord your God who brought you up from the land of Egypt is with you. When you are approaching the battle, the priest shall come near and speak to the people. He shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, you are approaching the battle against your enemies today. Do not be faint-hearted. Do not be afraid or panic or tremble before them. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you. The Lord our God, who was back there in the days of Deuteronomy, is the same God today. He doesn't change. He knows the end from the beginning. That's why he's the Alpha and the Omega, right? And so that is where we need to keep our focus. It's, Scripture is foundational, right? Ephesians 6:12, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in heavenly places. Now, having been around the block a few times, right? I've been a believer about 15 years. I think Satan's trying to keep us distracted. He's really trying to keep us horizontally focused on the things that are going on in this earth that impact us. There are pains, there are struggles, there are trials, right? But where does our help come from? And we need to keep our eyes vertically focused and not so horizontally focused. And that is really going to help us to get through stuff, right? And so prayer, steeped in prayer, staying in the Word, all of this. And, we just celebrated Easter, right? And what is the major holiday that comes before Easter? And as the Word becomes flesh, right? And it's right there. And so Jesus is there for us to handle, to read, and to digest, right? There's a scripture that I keep floating around in my mind. It says, and it's Jesus. He's talking to the woman at the well, right? And his disciples go to get food. He comes back. And what does Jesus tell his disciples when they come back? I have food that you don't know about, right? And so it's just pretty, and that's nutrition, that's sustaining, that's empowering, it's strengthening for us. And so who knows what that is? It is a thin blue line, but it's also called a mourning band. When a police officer dies, our chief of police will authorize us to wear that band on our badge until that police officer is buried. There was a point in time where we wore that for almost a month straight in 2018, literally. It can be tough having a positive attitude, can't it? Yeah, absolutely. And so we need to do everything that we can to keep ourselves positively focused, right? And so this evening, come on, Bueller? Maybe? No? Oh, do I have to point there? We are having bad luck. Sorry. We might be here till midnight. Is it working? Okay, will this work? Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about 3 basic topics. Disaster response psychology. Things about the human condition, things that we all suffer from when it comes to this thing called life, right? We'll be talking about numerous different active shooter events. Columbine High School is number 1. Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, maybe if it comes up in conversation. Pulse nightclub, as well as a few others. And then what is your response as a civilian to an active shooter event, right? So much more than just Nichols-Bethel here. This is a life lesson. These are things that we take home to our family, to our loved ones, and the people that we do life with. And so, Columbine High School, why is this first? First large. Okay. Shook the nation, it did. Anybody else? It's a school. It hits our heartstrings pretty closely, right? And it was just the anniversary, wasn't it? And so we work really hard to bring you the absolutely best material. Go to a lot of trainings, take in as much information as we can to find you the absolute best stuff for you to think about and process and build your life off of, right? Because the things that we hear, the things that we see, and the things that we read, what do we do with this information a lot of times? We digest it, don't we? Then what do we start doing? We start formulating what? Ideas, thoughts, opinions, and how does that impact our life, right? And things like that. And so is everything we hear, see, read true? Really? Oh, gosh. So it was August 27th of 2018. I get an article in my inbox, in my in-mail, right? And it's from NPR. And I'm not here to promote a particular news stream, but it is about the information. And the article is titled, "The School Shootings That Weren't." It said, this spring, the U.S. Education Department reported that in the 2015-2016 school year, nearly 240 schools reported at least one incident involving a school-related shooting. The number is far higher than most other estimates. But NPR reached out to every one of those schools repeatedly over the course of 3 months and found that more than 2/3 of these reported incidences never happened. Who's my math folks? What is 2/3 of 240? 180. 180? 160. 160. Two-thirds, 240 is 160. So 160 of those events never happened. But if we read this event, we read this article, what is our brain going to do with this information, especially if we have children in school? See where I'm going? 80, it says 80 is bad enough. 1 is bad enough, right? So I'm not here to diminish numbers, but I'm here to go about the information that we're digesting and we're taking in. We need to be careful about what we're taking in. Guard our eye gates, right, and our ear gates and all those other things and process it and make sure that it's true. I am on Facebook, and I'm not overly proud of the fact, but I have friends on Facebook, right? And they share these articles, and I'm reading this article, I'm like, this doesn't seem right to me. If you're sharing an article that is not true, what are you really sharing? It's a 3-letter word. You're sharing a lie. And then people that read this and they don't vet that information to make sure that it's true, they're going to be formulating their life plans, thought patterns, and things on that. And so we have to be careful. We really do. Columbine High School wasn't the first and it wasn't the worst. Why is it perceived that way sometimes? 5-letter word begins with M. Media. And I'm not here to bash the media. I'm just here that we need to be careful and guard these things that we're listening to because there are agendas out there, right? And information is not always correct. Columbine High School. What do we know about Columbine? What did the first arriving police officers do when this event started? Do you know? Did they go in or did they set a perimeter? They did. They set a perimeter. Do you know why? It was policy. It was policy for them. An event like that kicks off, they set the perimeter. If Columbine High School was in Anne Arundel County, we would have done the same thing. Because of Columbine High School, we changed as a law enforcement community, however, though. We are not waiting on the outside anymore. We are going in to get the person who's doing the killing, period. I have much more SWAT training today as now because of Columbine High School, right? Human condition number 1, do we like change? No. How many people drive to and from work the same way every day? Though there might be different ways to go, too. If you come here on Sunday for worship, do you sit in the same seat every Sunday? Right? Somebody new comes in, sit in your seat. Hey, how you doing? Jim Shiloh, that's my seat. Got to move? Right? Mean mug them a little bit. Hey, how you? Gotta get over there. Coffee's hot back there, by the way. Why don't you go get a cup? Right? We don't like change. We don't. And so if we're going to be intentional about change, or if we're going to have this victim mindset and become a victor, we have to be intentional. Law enforcement was intentional after Columbine High School because we know that that's what we were doing was wrong. If you have that potential victim mindset and you want to be a victor, we have to be intentional about it, which means we need to create change in our life. How you practice and how you train is going to be how you perform on this faithful day. How you practice and how you train will be how you perform. So disaster response. What is some background science in this that we're talking about, right? So 3 basic stages of disaster response. The first one is denial. We hear this loud bang. What do we start thinking? We think gunshot, but do we want it to be a gunshot? No, we don't. So what do we do with that information? Ignore it? What's that? Find another explanation for it. Gunshots make us really uncomfortable. We don't like it to be gunshots. Well, maybe it was a car backfire. Maybe somebody dropped something. Maybe it's fireworks. 4th of July is coming up in a couple months, right? We dismiss it. We deny it. We call it something that's more palatable, more comfortable for us. We can't afford to do that any longer. Deliberation is nothing more than a long word for the word plan, and the question is, do you have one? And then we're working towards this thing called the decisive moment. And we have to say when this happens in our life and not if this happens in our life. If we say if this happens in our life, what do we do with this information? We're going to file it away, ignore it. Corporal Shiloh, great training, great presentation, never happened around here. We'll never be intentional about change. We have to say when. With the Capital Gazette, Great Mills, right? Columbia Mall a few years ago, Annapolis Mall, Arundel Mills Mall about 4 weeks ago had a shooting, right? And so we have to say when. We can't afford to say if any longer. So I've been reading the book The Unthinkable by Amanda Ripley. It's really a pretty good book. It's a pretty easy read, which I need because I don't read well. She is a reporter, and she was wondering what people experienced and what they did during horrible events when it comes to being able to survive and experience that sort of thing, right? So she starts out, and she's interviewing survivors of 9/11. And the survivors of 9/11 were meeting monthly, and she was invited to this meeting. And so in this meeting, she learned something, and this is a quote from the meeting. But this meeting was not what I had expected. These people had an agenda. They had things they wanted to tell other people before the next terrorist attack, and there was an urgency in the room. The survivors were from all different neighborhoods, professions, and ethnicities, but they said very similar, surprising things. They had learned so much that morning, and they wondered why no one had prepared them. We were the first responders, one woman said. So when you hear, read, and see this quote, what does it make you think? What's that? They took action. Why did they have to take action? Because nobody else did. Where were the first responders? We were going, but we weren't there when the planes hit the tower. Who was there? The people who occupy that building. Do you know what to do, right? We're coming. Believe you me, we are on our way, but we are not there in the heat of the moment more often than not. But you are. Do you have a plan? How you practice and how you train will be how you perform. So some of the social proof in this thing called denial, right? And there's these organizations, and they do these social experiments, and they'll place an actor or an actress in a really high pedestrian area, and they'll fake an injury or an illness. And they're like, help me, help me. And what do most people do? Look, stare, kind of maybe keep on trucking, take a picture, post it up on social media, hashtag drama not involved, right? Until, of course, I'm talking to the love your neighbor community, right? This is I know the right answers, but what do people do in the heat of the moment? Until someone comes up and says, hey, are you okay? What can I do to help you? Then what do people have a tendency to do? Then they want to help, right? I call that person the icebreaker. Well, I do believe that God has put people in our circle of influence that we are responsible for. It is our family. It is our friends. It are our neighbors. It might be a divine encounter, someone we just happen upon, right? We are responsible for paying attention to other people's needs and things, even if it's inconvenient. Even if it's inconvenient. Because I just believe, that person, we shouldn't wait for somebody else. Because the answer is, what we're talking about is normalcy bias. It's a form of peer pressure. We're looking to other people to make a decision of how we should behave or how we should react to a particular situation. We're going to see a really good example of this coming down here in a few minutes. But as people following along with the majority is wrong. We can't look to other people to dictate our decisions in a lot of this stuff. We just can't. Because they might not be right. What's good for somebody else might not be good for us, right? So deliberation, long word for the word plan. The question is, do you have one? Where do you like to go shopping? Where do you like to spend your money, your hard-earned cash? It cannot be Amazon or Giant Peapod. Where do you leave the confines of your home to spend your money? The mall, which one? Macy's, okay. Arundel Mills, okay. Bass Pro, all right. Now we're getting better. The mall? I'm not a fan. Kohl's, okay. What's that? Wally World, all right, I hear it. No international shoppers, Target? What? Okay, Target, great. So think about this for a second. Wherever you go, you're pulling up into the parking lot. You get out of your car. You're walking into this establishment, right? You go in, you make your purchases. Where are you exiting this building? About the same way that you came in? No? You're going to the mall? You're a mall shopper? All right. Other than the mall shopping, because maybe you're going to go out a different exit, but it's usually the same entrance, right? So do you know an alternate way out of this building? Right, there we go. Do you know an alternate way out? You've had eyes on the door. You know how the door functions. You have an idea where it goes. Do you know an alternate exit?
Actually, you know what I do? I do look for alternate ways, just in case there is something going on.
Right.
Okay. Look for alternate ways.
Good. But if you're one of those folks that don't, have you defaulted your safety and well-being to those exit signs that are supposed to be of emergency exits? Oh, I'll be able to find it if I need it. But will you really? Will you really? We'll see a really good example of this coming down the pike here. Who is responsible for your safety and well-being? Yourself. I'm thinking of a C word. It is a part of the human condition. Have you become complacent? Have you become complacent when it comes to your safety and well-being? Okay. Before we get to that slide, did you know that there was a test?
No.
They didn't tell you this test? Okay. All right. Just checking. How many people? What's that? Multiple choice. There's a couple fill in the blanks in one essay. I'm just saying.
In the blue book?
In the no blue books. I'll pass out the papers here in a little bit. But for those that are taking notes, props to you, right? And so a test coming up. All right. So stress response. How many people don't like tests? Be honest. If you don't like tests. And I say the word test, and I say, you have a test tonight. How does it make you feel? A little anxious. Your heart rate goes up a little bit, right? what we're talking about is our stress response. There's really no test. That's just a teachable moment. So we're talking about our heart rates, right? Well, our fine motor skills are better with a lower heart rate, 60, 70 beats per minute, give or take, right? Our fine motor skills are better. As our heart rate increases, however, what happens to these fine motor skills? They start to decrease. Why is this important? Because what we find is that when you get your heart rate into this 120 beat per minute ballpark area, you're faster on your feet, you're stronger physically, and your brain is firing a lot faster and a lot clearer. It's looking for that plan that you're going to have after tonight, right? So why is this important? Because if you let your heart rate increase to about 150 to 175 beats per minute, give or take, right, you might start to encounter what we call auditory shutdown. So you're not going to hear things like you might need to be in order to be a victor this day. You might encounter tunnel vision, so you're not going to see things like you're going to need to in order to be a victor this day. So it's important. Physiologically, this is a part of the human condition. We all suffer from it. Is how can you keep your heart rate into this 120 beat per minute ballpark area so you're faster on your feet, stronger physically, and your brain is firing faster and clearer on this plan you're going to have from this point forward, right? And so the human brain, pretty amazing part of the human body, right? Have you heard of the fight or flight response? Right on. We're going to flip the script. We're going to put flight first because there's a theme here. We're going to be talking about avoid, deny, defend in a little bit. And flight would be avoid. As soon as the hairs go up on the back of your neck, some people would call it the Holy Spirit, you're like, whoa, get yourself out. You see something that's like, that's not right, that makes me really uncomfortable, get out, right? Fighting is next, and that's going to look like two different things. It's going to be denying access, keeping this person from getting to you, and actually defending yourself, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But what is the third part of the fight or flight response? I heard it, yep. Freezing and locking up. If you haven't practiced, if you haven't trained, how could you ever hope to perform on this faithful day? If you haven't practiced, if you haven't trained, you don't have a plan, how could you ever hope to perform? This is a part of the human condition, right? We need to cross it off our plate. We have to be intentional in order to do that, though. We have to be intentional in order to do that. A lot of what we're talking about, it's called the OODA loop. It's what we use in law enforcement and the military to describe the thought process, and we break it down into 4 different sections. We observe something, we start to orient ourselves to what it is we're seeing, we make a decision, and then we act, right? And so police training is very repetitious. Who can tell me why? It's a conditioning, right? It's that fast, it's that repetitive that helps us to respond faster, right? Because a lot of times life hangs in the balance. We don't have time to do a pros list, cons list, rules and regulations, right? We don't have that privilege. We need to know in a fraction of a second. And so have you ever seen police officers and they're like always touching the stuff on their belt? Yeah. You see like they're going like this. Yeah. I used to do this, but that's really uncomfortable. But you're always touching it. Do you know why we do that? Make sure it's there, but not just there, where? It's muscle memory. It's called indexing. It's so we know where anything and everything is at any given second, because if I see a deadly force encounter that would authorize me to access my firearm, I can't go, time out, where is it? Oh, there it is, action. No, I have to keep eyes on what is going on and access and function everything on this tool belt without looking. I have to. It's a part of our training. It's a part of your expectation of me, right? So here's a question on the test. Does an active shooter have an OODA loop?
Well, wait a minute. Maybe.
Yes.
It may be backwards. It may be.
No. They definitely have an OODA loop. That is an important part to remember. We'll be talking about it again. So the Station Nightclub. The Station Nightclub. Anybody familiar? Rhode Island? Rhode Island. The band Great White, 1980s version. Any fans? Yeah. You're a fan? Back in the day. Nice. I have 62 in my private Facebook group now. Yes. If you do not fess up to being a fan, you are not part of the private Facebook group and you're missing out. Look for the email. Look for the email. I've given this to well over 3,000 people, and 62 people have confessed to being fans of the band Great White. So we're going to watch a video. It's about a minute long, right? Not a very nice video, but we're going to watch it, and we're going to pay attention. I'm going to ask you a very, very important question. Where did you see the first problem? It's important to be able to identify the first problem. You're going to see a lot of problems, but you need to be able to identify the first one, then we'll talk about it a little bit more. What was that? That's up here. Sorry. Gotta work out all the techie bugs here. All right, ready? Go. Woohoo! That was the end of it.
That's it.
So, what was the first problem you were able to identify?
It was crowded.
It was crowded.
Yeah.
Overcrowded, right? So roll with me here. Let's use our imagination. Let's just say that we are the greatest fans of the band Great White that ever walked the planet Earth. Yeah, that's right. And guess what? They're coming to the Crossroads Tavern in downtown Glen Burnie. Yeah! All right, we are psyched. We are ready to go, right? It's closed for business, but go with me for this. It's actually for sale, I think. So if you're looking for something, go for it. So they're coming to Crossroads Tavern, right? We're super psyched. We're ready to go. We get there. We descend on Glen Burnie, Crossroads Tavern, pay our $40 cover charge. We walk in there. It is packed with people. Packed with people. What's an option?
Leave.
Leave. Get out. Let me challenge you. Would you really, though?
No.
Would you really? Because you're the greatest fans.
Would you?
just... Hey, no one's asked that. Not allowed. And you just paid $40. That's not going to be a part of our DNA, really, right? But when we're thinking about our plan, who is responsible for our safety and well-being? Yourself. You are right. And so we have to think differently. Maybe it's best to go home, pop some popcorn, and listen to a CD and rock out, right? Maybe. But we're not going to want to do that. But maybe it's depending on how crowded it is, maybe that's really better for us. Can you go to the next slide, please? Oh, I got the. What am I doing? What did I do? Thank you. Actually, there it is. So, I'm all messed up technology. So this is the Station nightclub. Let's just say those red dots that you see are entrances or exits. The main one is right here. Okay. What do you think these are? Those are windows. Yep. Kitchen entrance, stage crew band entrance right here. And so let's just say that we decide to stay, and we're going to stay towards the back. So we go to the bar, we get our peanuts and our pretzels, our orange juice and our Coke.
Show the back. I mean, where would you stay in that area?
Back right here. So we're going to stay towards the back.
Okay.
Right? Because the band's playing here. This is the stage. Pyrotechnics was a part of their show, right? And so this is the stage. We're going to stay towards back here. So we kind of meander over here, get our pretzels and our peanuts, our Coke and our orange juice, right? I see people giggling. I don't know what are you drinking? And we just happen to look at this exit here, and there's chains on the door. They're trying to keep people from sneaking in. Maybe that will change our mind. Maybe not, because we're going to stay towards the back, right? And so let me ask you this question. How long did it take the fire alarm to go off?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Was there a problem by fire well before 30 seconds?
Yes.
Absolutely. The person with the camera, how long did it take them to get to the exit?
Over a minute.
1 minute, right? And they were towards the back. Now, granted, they're distracted.
There's only two exits then.
Correct.
Because number one is
Well, the band got
still
out.
within the. Yeah.
Well, the drummer died on stage.
That's right.
Oh man.
So, yep, there's really only two exits, right? And so the 1 minute, the camera guy took a minute to get to the exit. Granted, they're distracted because they're filming, but still, right? All right. So here's a disclaimer. before we continue, we are not here to judge anybody in any of these events we're talking about this evening. We're here to learn from their life experience. I believe it's the best way to bring them honor. So we're not here to judge them. We're here to learn from them. Okay? So we watched the video, and who can tell me what those numbers represent?
Yes.
Yep, where people died, where people perished, where the bodies were located, right? Who can tell me where the highest number is? The main entrance. 31. How people got into this establishment was how they knew what? To get out, right? It's a part of our nature to gravitate to what we know. It is a part of our nature to gravitate to what we know. And so 31 people died in the main entrance. And so roll with me here. Let's process this out a little bit. We are these 18 people here, right? We decided to stay towards the back. We kind of gravitated over here because of how the crowd was pushing us and going, right? We see the band starts, we're like, yeah! Whoa! Now we see that there's a problem. Where is our first natural inclination to go?
Away from where we came in.
The door we came in, right? So we start heading that way, and what are we finding out? Everybody else is going that way. If you do a little research, that entranceway right here is only 3 feet wide, really not meant for mass exodus, right? People were literally stuck in the doorway, 5 and 6 deep, right? And so 18 people. How long, if it took 30 seconds for the fire alarm to go off, how long do we have realistically to make that decision of how to get out and where, right? If you watch the full video, and I don't recommend it, it's horrible. If you watch the full video, 1 minute and 55 seconds, you'll see 3 people come out of that window right there. And then at 2 minutes, I would deem that building uninhabitable. I'm not a firefighter, I'm not a fire marshal, but at 2 minutes, I just don't see how that building could be inhabited and you'd be alive in there. I just don't, right? So at 1 minute 55, 3 people come out, 2 minutes and uninhabitable, 18 people. How long do we have to take to make a decision on how to get out?
15
Less
seconds.
than a minute.
Under.
Yeah. So what might we be able to do? What is this? Maybe break a window, right? So where in our plan that we're starting to formulate now for these places that we frequent, where in breaking of that window does that need to be in our plan?
Within the first 30 seconds.
When you first go in. We can't even think about the door. The door is not even a part of the plan. People went to jail. It was over capacity. Like 100 some odd people died, right? It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And so we need to change the way we think and the way we formulate plans. There was a bar in California last year where someone is credited with saving the lives of about 35 people when a shooting started in the bar. He threw a stool right through the window, got 35 people to safety. And so it was just like that. It was just natural instinct, and that's kind of where we need to start getting to, right? And it's just a part of our plan and processing. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. So, there he is. That's Matt. Matt Winterstrom smashed a window with a bar stool, rescued 35 people during a bar shooting in California. That's where we kind of need to get to in the portions of our plan, right?
Was he just a customer?
He was.
He just,
Yep. He was just there having a good time like everybody else. I'm not sure. So, since 9/11, the U.S. government has sent over $23 billion to states and cities in the name of Homeland Security. Almost none of that money has gone towards intelligently enrolling regular people like you and me in the cause. So what does that tell you?
Money's not the answer.
Money's not the answer. Can we wait on the government to tell us what to do? No. It's a blessing for me to be able to do this. I've been doing this for years. This is a blessing. It's fortunate. I'm grateful that Anne Arundel County Police Department allows me to do this because it's needed. We heat primarily by wood in my home. That puts it at higher risk for what? Fire. Do I wait for the fire department to come knock on my door and ask me what my fire plan is? When's the last time you checked your fire extinguishers, your detectors, and your carbon monoxide detectors? Do I wait for them? I don't. It's whose responsibility is it? Right. That's right. And so we need to start thinking a little bit differently. This isn't the government's. There's some government stuff, but we have to have a plan. We can't wait for someone to do it for us. So a part of our plan, calming ourselves, right? The more you practice, the more you train, the calmer you're going to be because you'll have something to focus on. You'll know what to do. It's going to be a horrible day regardless. Breathing. Right? shifting your emotion. How many people know that our emotions can control us? Right? Now's not the time to lose it. You know what I mean? Now is not the time to lose it. Focus on your plan. Keep your brain focused on your plan. Get yourself to safety, and then lose it if you have to. Right? Staying fit. Parking a few extra spaces from the door, taking the stairs, not the elevator. I see this slide, and I think of Mandalay Bay in California, where the shooting was, right? Do you know how many floors those police officers had to climb to get to the suspect? 32. 32. So what does that look like? My uniform in its entirety right now is approximately about 25 pounds. If I'm on an incident like that, I'm carrying a tactical vest with first aid equipment, extra ammunition, maybe a few other things, maybe an extra 20, 25 pounds. So I'm carrying anywhere between 40 to 50 extra pounds up flights of stairs, right? So I walk out. My office is at Arundel Mills Mall. I walk out of the back door, and I see the casino, which is about 60 feet from our back door, right? About another 80 feet is that hotel they just built, and I look up.
That's 17 floors.
Is it 17?
I think it's 17.
I lost count of 12. And I'm like, can I do it?
Shoot.
And then I'll go in and get a donut. So part of this now is mental scripting. Who knows what mental scripting is?
Get a mental picture.
Think processing this plan that you're coming up with now for these places that you frequent in your head, right? So when I was patrol function, and I'm not any longer, and I'm very grateful for that, except maybe after tonight, maybe I will be. I don't know. I might need some letters to advocate for me. I don't know. No, but when I was patrol function, I would get a call for domestic violence. Very unpredictable, very dangerous. You just don't know, right? So on the way to these calls, I think to myself, if this couple's in the kitchen, what do I need to be aware of? Knives, what else? Fire. Okay, what else? Glass, what else? Pans, what else? Pets, what else?
The person.
Children. People, right? Okay, so I get this one call, right? So I walk into the home. There's a gentleman sitting on the couch directly ahead of me. His wife is in the kitchen over there. So my side partner's talking to her. During the course of my investigation and talking to him, I find out he's sitting on a loaded shotgun. Okay. Another call I go to, it's family violence. It's two brothers fighting. One brother picks up a large glass ashtray and hits his other brother over the head with it. So when I walk into someone's home, what are weapons of opportunity?
Anything you grab.
Pretty much anything, right? So here's a question on the test for you. Not everybody gets it right. What is faster, action or reaction?
Reaction. A reaction. Think about it. When you get scared. Like if
Yeah,
somebody
but if you
scares
think
you,
ahead and you act,
I would
you do
say-
that long before you react to something.
I mean, like when somebody scares you, the first thing you do is punch. I mean, like that's act. Yeah.
But if you didn't let that person scare you.
No, but they. I mean, of course. I mean, somebody.
I'm hearing action is faster than reaction.
Really?
The guy sitting on that shotgun knew what he wanted to do with that shotgun. It was my job to react appropriately to it. So, no confessions, please. On your way here, you probably maybe encountered a red light. You're driving down the road.
Okay.
It's green. All right, yeah. It switches to yellow. That is to help you to prepare to stop. That is the pedal in the middle. It's not the one on the right. I'm just saying. It cycles to red, and that is telling you to stop.
What do? Speed.
Confessions. I'm telling you.
Well, I
So.
don't speed. I'm just saying I'm saying what other people. What I see other people do.
Sure. And then you're supposed to stop at that large white line that spans across the roadway called, guess what? The stop line. So that light is on a predetermined cycle that you need to react to. The more we practice and the more we train, the quicker our reaction is going to be. So, and that's where practice comes in, right? Practicing. And so it is important for me to have a fire plan. It is important for me to make sure that my fire extinguishers, my smoke detectors, and carbon monoxide detectors are working. But what else do we need to do in my home? Practice escaping, getting out. Our windows are approximately 4 feet off the ground. It's an older home. The windows are small, and it is on a raised foundation. And so when we jump out of the windows, we're approximately 8 to 10 feet off the ground. It's going to hurt. It's going to leave a mark. We're not putting pillows down below the windows. I'm sorry. I'm sleeping on those. Right? And so, yeah, but we need to practice these. And it's the same thing for you. Maybe for here at Nichols-Bethel, the next step is to be doing a tabletop discussion and sitting down and saying, hey, look, if God forbid something does happen in here, what are we doing? Where are we going? And it would determine where you are within this building, within this structure. Maybe it's your workplace, sitting down with the people that you do life with at work and having a tabletop discussion and saying, hey, God forbid something happens. That's the next step. And then actually going through and practicing. I've done this for an outpatient surgery center in Annapolis, and they've done exactly that. They did a tabletop, and they talked about it, and then they did the next step. They did, during a staff training, they had gurneys, nurses with the gurneys, and they practiced getting the gurneys into their safe room that they built, because how do you get someone on a gurney to safety, right? But they also practiced getting gurneys out of the door, down the sidewalk, off the sidewalk to their rally point. They actually practiced this. And so props to them. That's great. I think that's an awesome thing for them to do. So the next step would be for you to practice. There has not been a death in a school system by fire since 1958. Who can tell me why? Fire drills. This is the new fire drill. This is the new fire drill. Rick Rescorla was the vice president of security at the World Trade Center South Tower. A very smart guy. He's doing a security assessment of his facility. He's down in the parking garage. He sees this large pillar. And he's like, there's no safeties around this pillar whatsoever. No protections at all. And he's like, man, if a terrorist puts a bomb there, this is going to be a bad day. It's a major support pillar, right? Puts up a security, he was a, what do they call him? Sent a letter to the Port Authority of New York saying, look, we need to put in some security stuff here because there's none. The Port Authority sent back a letter and said, no, we're not going to do it. Too much money, and it's not going to be a problem. It was a year or two later that the bomb goes off where he put that proposal in for, right? So the bomb goes off. What do people in the tower need to do? Evacuate, right? So from a security professional's perspective, how did that evacuation go? It went really poorly. So poorly, in fact, he worked for Morgan & Stanley. He sends a proposal to Morgan Stanley and says, look, we need to do quarterly evacuations. People don't know what to do, how to get out. They don't know. He was strongly discouraged from doing it, but did it anyhow. And because he did, he's directly credited with saving the lives of 2,700 people the day the plane hit that tower. Lost his life about the 10th floor trying to make sure people are out. We have to practice. And we're working towards this thing called the decisive moment, and we have to say when. We cannot afford to say if. I can say, we're not going to have a fire in my house. Not going to happen. You know, if it happens, no, we have to say when. We have to. We have to. So active shooter events. Why do we call them active shooter events? Most of these events are conducted with a semi-automatic handgun similar to the one on my hip. Most of them, but are all of them. Are there any more literal people like me? Like literally, someone tells you something and it is like, literally. My lieutenant yelled at me about a month ago because I'm so literal. That's true. That's true. We call them active shooter events because most of the events revolve around a handgun, but it doesn't always work that way. We're kind of working to change this active assailant event, right? Just because there's literal people. Our plan is not based off of a gun. Our plan is not based off of a gun. It's based off of the event. So if a person has a large glass ashtray and they're trying to kill people, what do? You put your plan into place and you do what you need to do to keep yourself safe, right? And so Santa Barbara in 2014, the guy had a gun, used a car, and had a knife. And so I encourage situational awareness, which just means paying attention to where you are, paying attention to this thing called life, right? You might meet your new best friend. You know, it's instead of the mall, people crossing the street. I saw it today, paying attention to their phone, right? So, you know, pay attention to what is going on, and you might get some good sales. You might take time to smell the roses. You might meet your new best friend. There's a whole bunch of good things that happen from there. Can you kickstart me on this, please? I just need down in the lower left, there is an arrow that will start the video. There we go. And so what you're looking at is a slide. And basically, the slides, the smaller dots are less than 4 victims, and the larger dots are 4+ victims. The yellow are events done by guns. The red are events done by knives. And the blue are events done by cars. And so it's kind of going to give you an idea. Okay, so we're going to ride this out. So it's going to give you an idea of all these different. Usually I fast forward because this isn't over a minute, and it's a long time to spend on just the slide. And so, but you're going to see what's happening and how it populates and where these events are taking place and how many they are. Most of them, as you see, are guns, but some are knives and some are cars as well. So our plan just really needs to be well-versed in this. 2015. Should go to 17, I believe.
Yeah. There's a lot in California. I'm not from California. Wow.
I've done this for some real estate companies. They don't like me to show this slide. So, there you have it, about 280. So, did anybody notice? Was anybody paying attention to the color of the dots and when they showed up, when they populated? What did you notice about the blue dots? To the very end. The very end. And what do the blue dots represent? Cars. That's correct. Every time I do this, I've been doing this a lot, I learn something new every time. And I was like, hey. This is the last couple of years. That's why I'm on the East Coast.
Montana and Maine look like good places.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, now you guys are, sorry if you're leaving the church. It's my fault. Blame me. You're going to go to the Midwest somewhere, North Midwest, right? Nichols-Bethel is going to pack up and go to like Wisconsin or one of those. Has horrible geography. So what does a shooter look like? Typically, there's no profile. It's a woman and a man. Men have a tendency to do more of these, but women are not exempt. They have an avenger mindset, which means they have a grievance. They're upset with something. It doesn't mean we agree with them. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong, but they're upset about something. What broadcasting means is that what we're finding is that there's at least one other person that knows about this plan other than the person planning it. That there's at least one other person that knows about this plan other than the person planning it. So I'm thinking of a P word. This is potentially preventable. This is potentially preventable. It's coming down to relationships. And I don't bring relationships up very much in a lot of my trainings, but with the churches I do. Because what are we responsible for? Building relationships, right? It's important. It's important. Where was I at today? I was sharing, St. Margaret's down south of Cape St. Clair. I went to a church. Over 40% of people that go to the church for the first time do not feel welcome. Do not feel welcome. I'm that guy. So my wife was going to she's a part of a board for music therapy, and we were in New York, and I did some Google searching, and I found it reviewed a great church, beautiful pictures, reviewed awesomely, and my daughter was 16 months at the time, right? And so we're there, and I'm that guy. So I walk in with this, and I'm an older dad, okay? So I walk in, and I have this young girl, and I'm standing right in the middle of the lobby. And how many people do you think came up and talked to me?
None.
Nobody. Nobody.
Were you smiling at least?
Oh, yeah. Come and talk to me, I dare you.
Plus you had a baby,
Yeah. This is me. What you see is what you get. I get a little crabby sometimes, but not much, right? Nobody talked to me. Nobody. Now, I know that Nichols-Bethel is not like that, but I bring that up every time because it just speaks to sometimes a culture, sometimes it's a person. If you're having a bad day, it's okay to have a bad day. Maybe you shouldn't be the door greeter. Hang out with somebody and go get a cup of coffee. Just being honest, because if we represent, we're representing the church, which represents who?
Right.
Yeah. So I was going to a church, and I loved that church because they had donuts and coffee. I'm just being honest. If we can't be honest, come on. And so I'm standing right there. I'm getting ready to go to a donut, and I have a perfect shot of the door coming in, right? And this woman's walking in, and she did not look good. She was just totally downcast, and I'm like, donuts, okay. And so I go up. I'm a hugger. I go up and give her a big hug and say, hey, what's going on? Her husband died the day before. She just walked into church to find that comfort that she needed. And so we had a great group of widows in our church, and I took her and I introduced her to the widows, and she became a member of that church. But what if I got distracted?
Yeah, sure.
What if I was distracted? I'm very easily distracted, aren't I? I am very easily distracted, right? And it's just, I know, What's that?
No confessions. I thought you said we're not going to, no confessions right now.
Oh, but it's me.
No.
So we We can't let life get in the way. We need to be the best that we can be. And if we're not, that's okay. It is okay to have a bad day. Just tag out with somebody. So the next 2 slides, we're going to see 9 risk factors. And these are just some commonalities that people have when that have a tendency to do these events. If you email me, I'll send you a PDF of the slides if you don't want to take all the notes, and you can disperse them that way if you want. Totally up to you. So 9 risk factors. It doesn't mean that they have all of them or most of them, but these are just commonalities that they're finding in the people group that do these events, right? There's 5 on here. There's 4 on here. Now, I show these because I think that they're absolutely important. But what do we have a tendency to do with information like this? Profile. Right? Put people into a box. Right? But if we're to be honest, and I don't want any confessions, if we're to be honest, you may see friends on this list. You may see family members on this list. You may be on this list. I am on this list. I am. My divorce was in the United States Marine Corps. I fought and got custody of my son. It was a horrible custody battle. Horrible custody battle. Can you say negative family dynamics much? I was 10 hours from my closest family member. Can you say isolated much? Right? I'm on this list. I have 2 of those risk factors. My brothers and sisters in the Marine Corps took care of me as best as they could. Usually meant, Shiloh, come into the bar, come on. Right? But I had a family, I had a community that loved me, that cared for me, that got me through that season and got me to where I am today. Right? There's a testimony in there somewhere, but you'll have to buy me a coffee. Right? And so, when I see this list, I am thinking of an I word. Intervention. Intervention, right? It's taking time out, despite our busy schedule, taking time out, despite our busy life, to help someone in need. To help someone in need. Those relationships that are so important. If they'll let you. I understand there's people out there that don't want help. I had a friend, a coworker, that committed suicide, didn't want help. We tried, right? And I've been challenged. Mental illness, Corporal Shiloh, there's nothing that I can do to help someone that has a mental episode, but you can call 911. You can start a first responder and wait for that first responder to get there to make sure that they find that person. This is what they look like. This is what they're wearing. This is why I'm so concerned in how they're acting and behaving, right? I hear it. I heard it on the radio. I heard it on the radio today. I don't know whether it was Eastern or Western. I don't remember. But there was somebody having issues. But we can always call. And so, where do these attacks take place? Over 50% places of commerce, about 24% education, just over 14% outdoors, and other would be houses of worship and things of that nature. The shooter has 55% of the time, that shooter has a direct connection to where that event takes place. About 45% of the time, not so much. Houses of worship experience, on average, 1.8 violent encounters a week. A majority are domestic related. So here's a question for you. Where does the violence take place? In the parking lot. So a couple may split, and they might not know where they live, but what do they know? Where do they go to church and at what time? Right? So when you're developing your plans of security and things, having a parking crew, having somebody that's responsible for the parking lot, keeping an eye out. Fostering an environment within your church where people are comfortable sharing their baggage and not embarrassed or fearful of judgment. And I always bring that up. And you might be that way, okay? So please don't be offended if I'm bringing it up. We're speaking generalities. There was a young lady, a part of our video team in the back this one Sunday, and the lead security, and I wasn't working security that time, but a couple was having a very loud domestic that was sitting right behind me in church during worship, and we were extremely loud. So I just got up, I just went back, and I was just watching because they weren't disturbing anybody but me, because I was just sitting in front of them. And then the mom-in-law comes, sits, and separates them, and then the young lady leaves, right? So I'm standing up against the wall. Security guy comes up and says, "Hey, how you doing?" I says, "I'm all right, watching the domestic, it's okay." He shows me a picture of this guy. And she says, "There's a girl in our video team that says her ex-boyfriend's coming to get her at church today." I'm like, "Okay." So who's walking her to her car? He stands up a little bit straighter. He says, "Okay, I'll have a couple guys walk her to her car." Because I told him that's probably where it's going to happen. Because we're responsible for her. Fortunately, by the grace of God, she felt comfortable enough to share that baggage. That's embarrassing. That can be embarrassing, right? And so, but we have to be willing to share our stuff and creating and fostering that community here that is like that. The number of deaths in an active shooter event are directly related to how quickly your police officers are going to arrive, and then target availability. What you do and what you don't do absolutely matters. The national average for police response, is 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So here's a question on the test. Who owns that 3 minutes? You do. Thank you. You passed the test. Your job, your responsibility, your plan takes you from the moment this event starts to the time that we arrive. That is your job. That is your responsibility. The people that do these events know about that time. They know they have a minimum amount of time to do the maximum amount of damage. And it is your job to make that time longer, to slow things down, and to have a plan that gets you to safety. So what is your response? If you think you have gunshots, if you think you hear gunshots, you don't deny them. So now we have to have a conversation. So we're right here in the middle, right? You hear, bang! So we don't want to come over, we can't be over here anymore and be like, it was just a backfire. Tire blew out, firework, right? So we can't be all the way over here and immediately break out a window either, right? So what do? If you've never heard gunfire, maybe it means you find a friend that does fire guns and say, hey, can I tag along for that experience? So you know, if you're right in the same area, it's going to change the atmosphere. If it's in a room, it'll change the atmosphere in the room. You'll feel it in your chest. You'll smell it in your nose. Your ears will be ringing regardless of hearing protection. You know, it's going to be an experience, right? If we're in here and a shot is fired outside, it will sound differently. So do whatever you can to have that experience so you can make a good, sound judgment of what you should do and where you should go. Christina Anderson. It would be the lower left of the screen. Thank you. No, back up. And you just click on her picture.
So this is pretty important. This day, I ended up sitting in exactly the same seat I always did, in the back right-hand corner on the right side of the class. What we don't know is at this time, someone is downstairs and he's chaining all 3 doors shut. There's supposed to be desks there. Oh, you guys can see. We heard the first gunshots outside in the hallway, and my teacher, she opened the door. She immediately slammed it and she said, call 911. And the second that door closed, he walks in. He walks in shooting. There's absolutely no time. He goes to the other side of the classroom by the windows. He's holding 2 guns. He doesn't say anything. He just starts going down the rows of people. It's very quick. It's very loud. It's very scary. We had these very shitty desks. I get on the floor. I put my knees under the chair, my stomach on the seat, hands overhead, eyes are closed. As the shots keep going, and it's, like I said, very loud, I can tell it's getting closer and closer. And I'm telling myself, brace yourself, your turn is going to come. Now, I didn't know what that meant. Like, I didn't think I was going to get shot, but I knew that something really serious was going on. And I knew for whatever reason that I should just play dead. He shoots me. The first time's in the back. And you'd be surprised, getting shot doesn't hurt that much because shock overtakes you, but it starts to like burn and really kind of seep in, and that's when it gets really uncomfortable. It's not pleasant. He leaves the first time, he goes across the hall, and while he's gone, cell phones are ringing, people are coughing, and the smell of gunpowder has like completely filled the room. Gunpowder is like this really sticky, pungent, warm smell, and it just makes you very, very thirsty. He comes back. Now, this time, the shooting is more intermittent. It's slower because he's looking to see who's alive. I remember telling myself to stop breathing because I can feel my stomach hitting that chair, and I'm saying, stop, like, he can see that you're alive. The third and final time, he killed himself in front of our classroom. When the police broke in, the first thing the guy said was, we have a lot of blacks in here. I didn't know what that meant, but when police sweep a crime scene, they have 30 seconds. If you're red, you're critically injured. If you're yellow, you'll live. Black means you're dead. In 9 minutes, he killed 11 of my classmates and my teacher. 32 people lost their lives that day.
All right. So who can tell me what event this was? It was Virginia Tech. So share with me, what stands out? What do you remember about what Christina Anderson shared with you? Smell of the gunpowder. I'm sorry? She didn't panic. She didn't. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anything else? Quick. Like that, right? Teacher opens, closes the door, he walks in. There's absolutely no time. So let's talk about her plan for a second, right? Remember, this is a no judgment zone. No judgment zone. So she takes this plan, really good desk, like this. Look like a victim or a victor? Looks like a victim. So why would she do that? I'm making some assumptions. I would love to have a conversation and ask her, why did you do that? So my assumptions are this. What do we teach our kids in school? To duck and cover. Shelter in place. Get down low. Protect your head, right? Airplanes, lean forward. Protect your head, right? Crash position. Severe weather events, what do? Get underneath a heavy piece of furniture, protect your head. We're always telling people, get down, protect your head. Get down, protect your head. That's exactly what she did. It's exactly what she did, right? If we were to do a little research, you'd read, and the person that did this event would go to a gun range, put paper plates on the ground, and then shoot the paper plates. Why would he do that? What did he know they would do? To get down. To get down. So she was trained. Her training failed her. By the grace of God, she's alive to help share her story, so we have a better understanding of what to do, that we need to do something different, that passivity does not work. Passivity does not work. We need to be all sorts of aggressive as we can in the midst of this, right? One of the lessons learned is hiding and hoping is not an option. Now, I used to beat this drum a lot. And so, I went to a day's training, and the company put this acronym together called ESCAPE, right? Every letter is supposed to stand for something that you're supposed to do. I couldn't tell you what any of them stand for. Way too long, way too complicated. It's one of the reasons I like avoid, deny, defend that you're going to see here in a minute or two, right? It's simple. It's straight to the point. But what they also did, and I like this, is that they did some research. And from 1980 to like 2015, they talked to survivors of shootings, of gun violence. So what did you do to survive? Some folks did hide, whether it's pulling a body over them, hiding in a cupboard. It is just not, you can hide, it's just not high on your list. It's just not number 1 or 2 or 3, really. It's one of those last-ditch efforts that you feel that you've got to survive an event, right? So you can hide, it's just not way up there in your plan, right? But it can be a part of your plan somewhere. So what are we talking about? We're going to be working off the left-hand side of the screen. Avoid, deny, defend. If you've heard of run, hide, fight, these are how they line up. Avoid is run, deny is hide, defend is fight. Now, if I mentioned the word intentional earlier on when we first started, right? And I just said that we can't afford to be passive. If I were to make a judgment call on avoid, deny, defend, and run, hide, fight, I would make run, hide, fight more passive and avoid, deny, defend more intentional, just based off of what they're supposed to be. Avoiding is being aware of your situation, your surroundings, paying attention to where the noise and the threat is coming from, and making a plan to get out, having that plan in advance. Running just seems to be just running to me, and it's because I know that how you practice and how you train is going to be how you perform, right? And so if you're going run, hide, fight, I can't run, I got to hide. Do we really want you to hide? We really don't want you to hide. And so denying is denying access. What can I do to keep this person from coming and getting me because I can't avoid them, right? And so defending is pretty similar to fight. It's not a street brawl, but we're being very, very specific, very intentional about surviving. So defending ourselves, and we'll talk about that in a little bit also. And so, okay, confession is good. Who likes donuts? Come on. Who's on the team? Right on. All right. Oh, I only have one person, really? Okay, all right, I got all right. Good deal. So this is what we're doing now. You are in the center of this donut, right? And avoid, deny, defend is your hedge of protection, if you will. You are right in the middle. An event starts, and you're going to access any point of your plan that you need. We're not processing avoid. Okay, I can't avoid. Now deny. Oh gosh, I can't deny either. I gotta defend myself. No, you're going to access your plan. A part of your plan is knowing what you're going to need at any given second. Now this is very fluid. This is very fluid because you have no idea. You might be at the mall. You might be at church. You could be at the movies. You could be walking down the street. And so it's just a matter of being situationally aware. And this is, that mental scripting is a great place to what if. It's a great place to what if. People always like the what if. Well, guess what? Now you can. What if this happens? What if that happens? When I go to domestic calls, I'm what ifing. What if this happens? What am I going to do? What if this happens? What am I going to do? And going from there. So you're going to access any portion of that you need. Now the next video, it'll start automatically. But we'll need to stop and I'll come back there for that. The next video, I'm going to ask you the same question as I did for the Station Nightclub. Where did you see or where did you hear the first problem?
And from the technology, you'll notice it's on the chart that you have there, and it's part of the plan that we have, the workshop we're going to have following this meeting, but this will be the first step in that whole process. I have a motion. A motion to everybody in this room behind that counter. Hit the road. Please, certainly, everyone else leave. Hey, sir. John, just let him talk. He's talking. John, go ahead. Ginger.
May I help her?
Yes.
May I help her?
It's all right if you help.
May I help her?
Sure, I don't know who you are. I'm going to die today.
Okay. Panama City Board of Education meeting. These aren't actors. It's the real deal. We can't make this stuff up. So, and the audio's not very good, and I apologize for that because it was the actual room, Board of Education room, recording and audio, right? What, were you able to hear it before you saw it? Spray, well, the woman screamed, but even before that, it was the spray painting. Right? So let's just say, for argument's sake, that we are at this Board of Education meeting because we're concerned parents. We have questions, right, of these gentlemen sitting behind the counter here. I'm not a police officer. Nobody else is a police officer. We're just there because we're concerned. Someone gets up and says, I have a motion, goes over and starts spray painting a V for Vendetta on the wall. What do you do? What's that?
I don't know if you have enough time to call 911.
Call 911, okay.
It'll get security.
Room full. What's that? Just leave. Thank you. Yeah, okay. So, did anybody first get up and go? No. The one person that's a day late, not a dollar short, was sitting over here. All right? The gun, that's when the gun comes out. That's when he gets it right. He's up and he's out. And so my challenge to you is this, is that as soon as someone starts spray painting a government wall, leave. The meeting's adjourned. The meeting's over. Get out and go back. Yes, ma'am.
Can we watch it again if anybody doesn't mind?
I'd like to keep going. It's probably on YouTube.
Oh, it is? Okay.
I'm sure. Panama City Board of Education shooting. And so, there's a lot to digest in this video. There really is. I literally learn something every time. And so, get out. But, I've been challenged. Well, Corporal Shiloh, aren't you trying to make people paranoid? No, I don't want you paranoid. I want you prepared. I want you to have a plan. Because what are you waiting around for? This isn't time to break out popcorn and say, hey, this is getting good. All right. Police work, we call that a clue. Get out. Go. Leave, right? It's kind of spray painting's kind of, what's the word? Is innocuous the right word? It's wrong. It's weird. But, we're missing some clues here. We're missing vital seconds. When he's done spray painting the wall, what do you see in his hand? You see a gun. And now you're behind the 8 ball. See where I'm heading? So spray painting doesn't seem that bad, But the gun comes out, well, now it's bad. He has to tell people at least 3 times to leave. And I get the hesitancy. Is he going to shoot me as I'm rolling out of here? Right? Did you notice the lady in the center aisle? What did she do? She low crawled. Hands and knees. Keep yourself down low. No harm, no foul. That's what you should do. Get yourself down low. Stay low. Stay out of sight, right? Curiosity did what? Killed the cat. Get out. Leave. Go. So how about the lady with the purse? She smacks the guy with the purse. But just not smacks the guy, she smacks the gun hand with the purse. Should she have? No. And so here's the deal. She works there. She knows these folks. So does she have a vested interest in them? What is her primary responsibility to? Herself and her family, right? So if it's me and I'm there and I'm not a police officer, I'm going to be like, he's spray painting the wall. I'm like, let's go. Come on. Come on. I'm going home to my family. My family is my priority. My family is my responsibility. Now, if I'm a police officer and I have some tools of my trade, that might be a little bit different. I'm going to be telling you, get out. What are you waiting for? Go. We're not selling tickets. Get out. But go. That's what we're missing vital seconds in our plan. So we need to act faster, right? We need to act faster. That being said, how about the lady that's down here? Why do I bring her up? You notice her? She took all of her stuff, didn't she? She took all of her stuff. If the kitchen sink would have been there, she probably would have grabbed it. I shouldn't pick on her so badly. There's actually some reasons behind that, but we're not going to dive into it right now. But we will go into this. Am I right-handed or left-handed? How can you tell? My gun, my strong hand, my weapon side hand. This is my dominant side. My dominant side. So here's the deal. I like coffee. I walk into this establishment. I get my coffee. What hand am I most likely wanting to grab it with? My right hand, right? And so what hand do I have to grab it with? My left. And here's why. I go to this establishment. I get my coffee. I'm turning to leave. Outside in the parking lot, I see a deadly force encounter that authorizes me to access my firearm. First, my brain needs to take the fraction of a second to recognize the encounter. Then my brain needs to tell my right hand to access my firearm, but what's in the way? Then my brain needs to take the time for me to drop my coffee, which goes against every fiber of my being, right? Left hand, right? Precious seconds. So that woman down there in the bottom of the screen that grabs all her stuff, you do not know what's on the backside of those doors when you exit that room. You may need your hands and your arms to be a victor today. And if it's filled with all this stuff, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And that's not a good thing. Leave your stuff. You are more valuable than anything you could hope to carry. Leave it. Now, the lady with the purse. Realistically, what was her ability to make this situation better? Leave. Avoid, deny, defend, get out. Now, maybe if she's a 15-degree black belt with purse defense, maybe, right? Have a brick in there, leave a mark. But no. All right, but maybe, I'm the lady with the purse, and you are all the Board of Education, right? Before the meeting starts, I'm going to be like, look, something breaks bad in here because I got a funny feeling. I'm going to smack the guy with my purse, and you attack him. Because I don't even think anybody, I don't even think their blood pressure went up. I'm just being honest. They just like, one guy's chewing his gum and he's spray painting the wall. You notice that in the video? I just noticed that like last week when I did this. The guy's like chewing his gum and the guy's spray painting the wall. I'm like, really? And so there needs to be a plan. In this book, Mass Shootings, that this company did the research in, it says you need about 2 or 3 people on your team to really help you to be successful. You need about 2 or 3 people. So if you want to defend, she has a vested interest, maybe you got to get 2 or 3 people, right? But we're always working avoid, deny, defend. Your primary responsibility is to your family and yourself. Get yourself out. If your family is there, we're going. Get out. Take your folks with you. What else do you want to talk about? All right. What are lessons learned? Leave ASAP. We're losing precious time. Go home and watch it on WBAL, but don't be on WBAL. You know what I mean? Get out. Know your exits, all of them, right? As much as you can. The stores that I frequent, whether it's Harris Teeter, used to be Shoppers until they closed. I grieved for a week. Colossal Donuts, 69 cents. You're not going to get a better deal anywhere. That's a meal. 69 cents, you get a meal. You can't go wrong.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If your coffee's in your left hand, where does your how do you hold your donut? Right?
Oh, in the mouth.
I already ate that. You talking? Come on now. A man's got to have his priorities. That's before I even get out the door. I won't be able to talk, but I can. I think shooting range, coffee in one hand, gun in the other. You know. That's right. That's right. And then calling 911. Really important. We need to know that you're okay. Everybody experiences things differently, sees things differently. And so we need to know that you're okay. Call 911. There's an accountability here. If you're a part of an organization, you should have a rally point. I don't know what it is for Nichols-Bethel, but whatever that rally point is, you need to get to the rally point so there's an accountability so that we know that you're okay. If you can't get to the rally point, you need to call 911 and say, hey, I'm Jim Shiloh. I'm from the Nichols-Bethel, and I'm here. I'm hiding in the gully behind the church so that we know that you're okay. Because if you're not accounted for, we're coming to look for you. We are coming to look for you. So leave ASAP. Ever so briefly, there's two people in this room. What is the most concerning thing in this room? I don't know a lot about this slide, but I know a little bit. So what is the most concerning thing? Are they?
Well, there's a ladder. I don't know where it goes to.
Okay. What is that? That's a door. Yeah. And so I don't know a lot about this. But what I don't want to think is that they're so wrecked with fear that they don't realize that they're next to a potential exit and a ladder and a door, because they're crouched down, covering their face in fear. There was a shooting at the deli out front, and this is in Paris. So the deli there was a shooting at the counter in the front of the deli. They did a good job and got to the back room, but there's some things they can do a little bit better. Make sure the door is closed. Right? Maybe that door that looks like an emergency push door to me, right? And I don't know, but I just don't want to think that they're so wrecked with fear that they're not realizing that they're next to an exit. Even if they're not, how about 2 Timothy 1:7? Who knows what that is? Testing, yeah. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. And so this is where the scripture comes in. If we're feeling overwhelmed, if we're feeling anxious, you're thinking, oh my goodness, listen to all this stuff. This is where we need to go. This is where we need to go. Staying steeped in the word, right? In the book of Joshua, and I think it says it in Deuteronomy too, it says, I have given you wherever the soles of your feet have tread. I have given you wherever the soles of your feet have tread. That is past tense. Who goes before us? Yeah. And who's got our rear guard? Yeah, it was the pillar of fire by day and the cloud by night, right? No, let's flip that around. Sorry. Maybe I need a coffee. Yeah. But still, if we're feeling fearful, it's not a good day. We serve a good God. 3rd floor, Columbine High School, police officers are standing on a vehicle. A window can be an exit, but in our plan, in our brain, we need to see it as a potential exit, right? It's a barrier. Right now, it's keeping pollen out. That's a great thing, right? That's a great thing. If it was raining, it would be keeping rain out, But they say you can survive a fall 3 times your height. It's good information to know, right? So let's say we can't avoid, what are we going to do? We're going to lock the door, we're going to turn out the lights, we're going to stay out of sight. Are we hiding? We're not hiding. It's a version of avoiding, if you will, right? We're changing the environment. If we were to turn the lights off in here, what will happen with our eyes? They will adjust, right? So if this person who's doing this event is coming from a lit area into this dark area, what will their eyes need to do? Adjust. What does that give us? It gives us time. It gives us opportunity. If it's ability to avoid and get out, that's great. If not, maybe that gives us an advantage to do what? Attack. Staying out of sight is not hiding. It's understanding what fields of fire are. Kids at Parkland did a good job. They locked the door, closed the door, but they stood in front of that little rectangular window and got shot. It's staying out of the line of fire. Barricading. Barricading can take practice. The heavier, the more anything and everything that you've got to go up against that door, whether it's inward or outward swinging. Odenton Christian School down the street. I did this for them, and they learned by practicing, those little chairs that you have for the kiddos? I can't sit in them because I won't get up. but they had the horizontal door handles, right, for an outward swinging door, and just by figuring it out, they took one of those chairs and that leg, slid the leg behind the door handle, and they could situate it perfectly to barricade the door. It didn't even take a second. It's something a kid that they were old enough they could do that, right? But the only way that they were able to figure that out is by practicing and working around it, right? It's very, very important. So this back room here, let's go back to this back room. Let's do something. Let's be intentional about being a victor and not just hide and cover our hands. So help me push this big black thing up against the door, right? How about this metal racking? Help me push this metal racking up against the door. Let's do something to keep this person from coming in and getting us. So, do you see that? What does that look like? Spray bottle. If it's a spray bottle of cleaner, what is that? That's a weapon. That is a weapon, right? Spray it in their face, break off the top of it, pour it down their throat, do whatever you got to, right? That's the Irish Marine in me coming out. But, it's a weapon. Looking and realizing that, look, that might be a great cleaner, but if you need it to be, who's got a water bottle with them? Anybody got a water bottle? What is that? It's a missile. If you throw that, now that coffee cup, oh, that'd be a waste of a coffee cup. But if you got to, that is a great weapon. If you throw something at somebody, what are they going to naturally want to do? They're going to duck. That's a part of the physiology. That's natural reaction. That breaks their OODA loop. Oh, where'd you hear that before? Maybe it's just getting some door stops, little things, right, that we can do to help. That is I got to get that picture out of there. What we're doing is calling it, taking a extension cord or a rope around those horizontal handles for an outward swinging door, and then going and pulling back off the door to help keep the door closed if you can't lock it, right? Our Anne Arundel County school system, it was about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, that they understood that they needed to change the door locks in their classes. I saw an order for over $1 million worth of door locks where you could just simply lock them because the teachers had to go to the hallway to lock the doors, and that's not good. You need to be able to lock them from the inside. Just a quick push-button lock is all that you need, right? There are things that you can purchase. Not all of them are fire marshal friendly. That is one of them that is not fire marshal friendly, right? But there are things you can purchase if you don't get inspected by the fire marshal. That would be a great thing to have. But that red piece going into that silver piece, is that a fine motor skill? Sure it is. That piece sliding into that slot, that red piece slides into that silver slot right there. That is a fine motor skill. You might want to practice that. But the question is, how would you practice that?
But when your nerves are this high.
Nerves, yeah, you need your nerves shattered. Maybe go out and do a lap or two, get your heart rate up, get huffing and puffing, turn the lights out, have someone screaming in your face. Do something to stress yourself out a little bit to make sure that you can do that when you need to do that to save your life, right? There's other things that you can buy. I need to try and make that bigger. That's a piece of stainless steel that's bent to go around a round doorknob and the door frame for an outward swinging door. That would work out really well. Now, those hydraulic hinges in that belt, that works out pretty good. It's going to take a little time, so you might want to practice that. I kept our lieutenant out of the office for 3 days doing that. I just wanted to see if it would work. Right? There are things that you can buy that would work even better than that. That's just a piece of stainless. It's got rubber inside of it that slides right over those hydraulic hinges there. It's pretty easy to incapacitate those hinges. It doesn't take much. You would be surprised. I left the church this afternoon that had purchased a version of that, and they're not very happy with it. There's a lot of play. It doesn't lock the door down tight, but it's going to buy you time. It's going to slow them down, which is really what you want to do. So defending yourself. Do you have the right to defend yourself? Remember, it's the state of Maryland. Do you have the right to defend yourself? Just asking. And I ask you because people ask me these questions. So I ask them back because I know that one person is not the only person that's thinking it. He's just brave enough to ask the question, right? And so I send avoid, deny, defend up to the state's attorney's office and say, hey, look, I'm being challenged. I want to make sure that they get the right information. And they said, yes, people have the right to defend themselves. Avoid, deny, defend fits Maryland law perfectly. Maryland law wants you to avoid if you can avoid, which is great because you don't want to go face-to-face with someone unless you have to anyhow, right? If you can't avoid, Maryland law wants you to deny them access to you, which again is great because you don't want to go face to face with anybody. But know this, that if you can't avoid, if you can't deny, you have every right to defend yourself. So here's the next question. It is a fight to the what? Whose death? Theirs. No hoping about it. No hoping about it. It is their death because you're a victor and you are going home. This person is there to do what? To kill people, to kill you. So what might you need to do? And how often do we go there in our minds as a Christian community, as a community at all? It's hard, you know. It's a tough one, right? It just is. And so, you know, gosh. But know that you have that right. As a police officer, I've been a police officer for 32 years. I know that I'm here for a day such as this. I can see the fingerprints of God on my life from then until now that brought me to this moment. Literally. It is amazing. So I know that I'm here. I know that if, God forbid, I have to take a life, that I've been given the authority to do that. And if you have to defend your life by taking another because they want to take it from you, I believe that's okay. And that's going to take some prayer and some reading in the Word and having a fine understanding, right? Because at the end of the day, who's it between? It's between you and God. It's not up to Corporal Shiloh. It's between you and God, right? I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was. Okay. So this picture is pretty much how we want you to be, right? You see the white frame right there? That is the door frame. This guy right here is the suspect in the black. You put two of your most aggressive people on each side of the door, if it's a door like that. Each side, right? This person over here, if you can see them or not, I don't know, but they threw something at the person's face to do what? To distract the OODA loop, right? Now, if you don't know, we want you to grab the gun. Most of these are done with a semi-automatic handgun. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them, right? We want you to grab the top of the gun, and here's why. Because the gun is a semi-automatic handgun, which means for every trigger pull, it fires one bullet. Every trigger pull, one bullet. And so there's two main parts, the bottom frame and the slide here, right? And so the bullet goes into the barrel, you pull the trigger, it goes bang. The bullet goes down range. The slide needs to go all the way back. They call it a cycle. It needs to cycle all the way back. When the slide cycles all the way back, it's going to kick out that casing. Some of them are silver, some of them are gold in color, or brass and colored, right? So the slide is back, it goes forward, it pushes the bullet in the barrel, you pull the trigger, it goes bang, the slide cycles all the way back, kicks out the casing, slide goes forward, pushes the bullet in the barrel, bang, wash, and repeat. And so why we want you to grab the top of the slide, the top of the gun, is because if the gun goes off, it will jam the gun. Now it is going to hurt. It is going to leave a mark. It is going to bite. It is going to burn. But you have not just jammed their gun. What else have you jammed? Their plan, their OODA loop, right? They are dependent on that weapon to do damage. And now you're forcing them to go to plan B, but you're on your plan A, right? It is hard bone, soft, fleshy places, and you're ready to go to town, right? Consider it therapy for all this pent-up frustration you might have. And it's free there. Oh, I like this video. Bear with me for a second to make sure I got everything going here. I got a 50-50 shot here, and I got it wrong. Kind of the story of my life. There we go. Good. Let's try that.
Now, with an incredible survival story, so many are sharing. A jogger using moves she just learned in self-defense class to save her own life when she was attacked on a run. ABC's Kana Whitworth spoke with her and joins us now from Seattle with details. Good morning, Kana.
Larry, good morning. Her story has a lot of women wondering what they would do if they found themselves in a similar situation, and that's what she wants. So you can defend yourself if you have to. This morning, a shocking Instagram post sending chills and inspiration to women everywhere. It shows 36-year-old jogger Kelly Heron safe but battered after a brutal attack while she was out for a run.
As he was holding me down, see my look at that.
Kelly Heron was 4 miles into a 10-mile run in this popular Seattle park when she stopped to use a public restroom.
As I was drying my hands, I became aware that something was wrong.
That's when police say this man, Gary Steiner, a 40-year-old known sex offender, assaulted her.
And it was a fight on the bathroom floor. All I could think was, not today. Expletive.
And you were screaming.
Screaming. I was screaming.
Take a look at these red lines. Her body-worn GPS showing her frantic attempts to get away from Steiner.
I was able to pull myself out through the front of the stall because that door was jammed.
Yeah.
So
you kind of went underneath it.
I started to feel like I was going to lose consciousness, but I got another surge of adrenaline and I reached for the door and I was able to get out.
Heron says self-defense lessons saved her. She fought back with tactics she had just learned 3 weeks earlier.
I learned to put hard bones in soft, fleshy places. So I just started beating the side of his head with the side of my hand.
Jordan Geritano of Fighting Chance Seattle says he's been teaching for more than 20 years.
This is one of the most surreal things I've ever kind of seen in the 4 years I've been running this workshop. It's very inspiring and overwhelming and humbling.
One survey suggests 43% of women experience some sort of harassment while running, and self-defense can give women the power they need if harassment turns into something worse.
Be loud and fight like a savage.
And she did that.
Yeah, she did.
Heron now says she feels empowered, writing on Instagram, "My face is stitched, my body is bruised, but my spirit is intact."
What did police tell you when they got here? That I did an awesome job and that I did a pretty good number on his face.
That's right.
Now, she kept him locked in the bathroom until police arrived, and this morning, that man is now facing potential charges of attempted rape and assault.
Wow.
Lara?
Kana, the self-defense instructor you spoke with says there are 4 things that all women should remember. What are they?
Yeah, so Larry, he says self-defense is mental just as much as it is physical. So first of all, trust your intuition and then be loud. Fight with everything you have and respond immediately. Don't let the situation get out of control. And lastly, you don't have to punch. Again, he says hit with an open hand, reiterating putting those hard bones in soft, fleshy places.
Hard bones, soft places. Kana, so glad she's okay. Thank you for those tips.
All right. What's that? Elbows and knees. Hard bones, soft, fleshy places. Kelly Heron took some self-defense classes, was going on a run, goes to the bathroom and encounters a rapist, right? Using those self-defense skills that she gained from those classes, she was able to not just fight him off, but keep him locked in a bathroom. Pretty good stuff. I'm very grateful that she took those classes, because I flipped this around and I'm like, what if she didn't take those classes? How might this have gone? Right? Okay, so now I'm looking at a community of folks that I love and care about. What is your realistic ability to defend yourself? What is your realistic ability to defend yourself? Man or woman, it does not matter. What is your realistic ability to defend yourself? And might you need to take some self-defense classes? I'm just saying, right? I know you're busy. I know life is full, but you are worth the time, you are worth the effort, you are worth the money, right? Our Anne Arundel County Parks and Recs partners with the karate club in South County that gives self-defense lessons periodically. The rape aggression defense systems, I think, is offered by the community college. I've heard nothing bad about that whatsoever. It's like 4 weeks long. It's like $10. Community college, you can't go wrong. But you need to remember that repetition. It's just not 4 weeks, right? It's just not 4 weeks. Go for it. And I've heard that once you become a part of the class, you can go back. And then the more that you go, the more that you're going to learn, right? And it's that repetition, so it comes just like that, right? It's important. You are worth it. You are, and it doesn't matter your age. It does not, because they have something out there for everybody. It's just learning how to use certain things in a certain manner, in a certain ability, right? You're worth it. You really are. So what are some weapons of opportunity for you? It might be at home. It might be here at church. It could be wherever, right? A fire extinguisher is great because it's a distance, spray them in the face, If it gives you the time to get out, that's what we want you to do. But if not, what are you going to use that bottle for? Where are you going to hit them? Hit them in the head, right? That's right. Hit them in the head. Make Cal Ripken jealous. Do not hold back. So here's a quick story, and it's true. It was about 1991. I deem it the worst altercation that I ever got into as a police officer in 32 years. Was it with a man or with a woman? Everybody always gets that right. Oh, everybody always gets it right. But who can tell me why? Why did I hold back? Because she's a woman. How was I raised as a child? Not to hit a woman, to respect women, right? So here you have this 25-year-old man, spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, 7 months in our training academy for the police department, literally had the oldest, saltiest dog field training officer that ever walked the planet Earth. Not you. And I couldn't fight a woman when I hit the street because of how I was raised as a child. I'd never had an altercation with a woman before. She finally met the hood of my police car, and I haven't had a problem since. That was an educational moment for me. It was an educational, very dangerous educational moment for me. Because fortunately, it's the worst altercation because of how complacent I was because of my training as a child, right? I should have just let her have it right out of the gate because she was fighting me. She wasn't trying to get any of my weapons, thank God, right? Literally, because that's, whew, you know? Then that's bad because now I'm holding back because she's a woman, and if she would have been doing that, that would have gotten a lot worse. And so that's grace right there, right? And so don't hold back. I know it's not a normal part of our nature, but somewhere inside of us we need to find it in order to make sure that we're going home as a victor, because you're supposed to. Let's talk about Pulse Nightclub. Pulse Nightclub was not the originally intended target. The retail area of Disney World was. Huh? It was too much security. How many people didn't hear that? That it was Disney, right? I'm just saying, right? So the person that did the shooting, he's at home, loads up a baby stroller, loads up his weapons. He's going to Disney World, gets out. He's pushing a baby stroller around the retail area of Disney. Sees a lot of police officers that evening. Said, no, not tonight. He goes back to his car, loads up his car. He's Google searching nightlife in Orlando. And so we see in the GPS in his phone, he's going all around Orlando looking for the spot. Happens upon Pulse Nightclub as a target of availability. There's one police officer working off duty there. That person is on the outside of the club dealing with the juvenile that happened to be there. So this person rolls up, gets out. He has a rifle and a handgun. He goes in and he starts shooting. We know by video that it takes him between 15 to 30 seconds to reload his rifle. Why is that significant? That is a lot of time. A lot of time to do what? Run. Attack him. Attack him. Now, I don't want this to come across judgy, but I'm making some assumptions, and I don't want to watch the videos. I have to be honest. I don't want to watch those videos. And so I'm taking out of trainings and the FBI debriefs and stuff that I've been to because they didn't show the videos, right? Somebody could have been close enough to take him out. Looking at Christina Anderson's room, what was an option if they would have been prepared? Maybe defend yourself. If the Christina Anderson's room may have been in a position where they were planned to talk about and maybe rush them because nobody did, they just went down to their chairs and waited, right? They would have attacked him because he's not ready for the attack. He's ready for them to be complacent and passive, right? If you attack him, he had enough time to Google search how to fix the charging handle on the rifle, which broke. Okay, so we have to change our mindset somewhere, somehow, in order to live this thing called life well. How about Las Vegas? Horrible, horrible incident, right? Maybe it means, do we stop going to outside venues? I think we need to go. I think we need to enjoy ourselves and have a good time, but maybe we need to educate ourselves. Maybe we need to have a very good understanding of what cover and concealment is. What is cover? You can't hurt me. Something to hide behind that you can't hurt me. What is concealment? You can't see me, but you might be able to hurt me if you know I'm there. And so, drywall, cover or concealment? Concealment, that's correct. These wooden doors that you have here, cover or concealment? Concealment. Your car door, cover and concealment. Concealment. Bullet will go right through your car door. Brick wall. Cover. Nice big oak tree. Right on. Okay? Now you're having a better understanding, right? Because up by the main stage of this event, there was a tent that no one used that would have been perfect concealment. Would have been perfect, out of sight, out of mind. People know they have a minimum amount of time to do the maximum amount of damage, and no one used that as concealment. Stay out. Yes, ma'am.
What if it gets to the point where you have to use the other dead bodies for cover?
And that's what you got to do. Yeah. Really, it'd be concealment, but that's what you got to do, right? That's like that book said. In the book, it said some people hid under bodies, pulled bodies up over there. You know, understanding what your egresses are. How can you get out? Where are your avenues to get safe? Right? Just laying down in the middle of the field is not an option. Saying that to say this horrible incident because you have no idea where the threat is. Echo is everywhere. You're not going to know where the fire is coming from, but you just can't lay down. You have to move. You have to move and get going. Understand that between 70 to 90% of the people that get shot survive, right? Knowing all of this stuff and getting yourself to safety. I'm not going out in a parking lot. I'm not going out like this. I'm not going to let my wife down. I'm not going to let my daughter down. And I'm not letting my stepkids down. Lieutenant Brian Murphy was shot 15 times. 3 times in the head, 12 times throughout his body. This is about mindset. The point is shot does not equal dead. You can and must keep fighting. He goes back to work. Marine.
Okay.
Right? He goes back to work. So let's back this thing up to where we started this evening, right? Lieutenant Brian Murphy has a small farm in Pasadena, Maryland. He's got 25 birds, 3 are ducks, 1's a goose, the rest are chickens. He's got Pat the Bunny 2.0, different conversation, right? He's got 3 sheep, 3 goats. He's got 2 cats, 2 dogs, a 2-year-old, and a wife at home. He gets up at 5 to take care of his farm. He's out there in the barnyard thinking, like, man, he's thinking about Dallas, Texas, where the 5 police officers were killed the day before. And he's thinking to himself, what if that's me? What if I'm going to get killed today? What's going to happen to my daughter? What's going to happen to our farm, the vision, and everything that we have planned for our lives? What if I die today? He goes to work, gets a call to go to a Sikh temple active shooter. He rolls up, he gets out of his car, pulls his service weapon, and immediately starts getting fire from the suspect. One of those rounds hits his gun hand. He goes down. He's dragging himself across the parking lot trying to get that cover and concealment. His side partner comes up and saves the day. What if Lieutenant Brian Murphy had a negative mindset that morning? Maybe, right? Positive mental attitude, being rightly focused in this thing called life, right? And so we're going to look at Virginia Tech. I'm going to read some brief synopsises of what happened in each room. And then we're going to see whether they used avoid, deny, or defend. And then we're going to look at some statistics there. In room 206, the shooting started here. The shooter walked in and started killing people. He left and returned later to shoot more people. So did they use avoid, deny, defend, or nothing? They used nothing. In room 211, the professor heard shots and told a student to call 911. Students attempted to block the door with a desk. The shooter pushed his way in, shot the professor, and walked down the aisle killing students. The shooter returned later and shot more students. What did they try? It just didn't work. Deny. It just didn't work. In room 207, this was the second room attack. The shooter walked in and shot several students and the teacher. He then walked down the aisle shooting students. The shooter left. The shooter attempted to return. Students used their bodies to barricade the door. The shooter got the door open 1 inch, fired several shots into the doorknob area. No one was hit by these shots. So what did they use successfully? Deny. The second time, because this person that did this event revisited the classrooms, or at least tried. And so they used their time, was able to barricade the door, and he wasn't able to make it back in. Room 204, Professor Labrusco, a Holocaust survivor, held the door shut when the shooter tried to enter. Labrusco yelled at his students to jump out of the windows. The shooter shot Labrusco through the door, pushed his way in, and killed Labrusco. Most of the students made it out of the window and survived. So which 2 things did they use? Avoid and deny. He held the door closed, right? Why do they mention Holocaust survivor? He had that mentality. He's got that survivor mindset, right? He knew. Second floor of Virginia Tech, telling his kids to jump out of the windows, right? Surviving a fall 3 times your height. Room 205, students in 205 had time to react. They pushed a large teacher's desk against the door and got down low to hold it into place. The shooter pushed down and fired through the door but never gained entry. No one was shot in this room. And so what did they use successfully there? denied access. They kept them out, right? So when we look at the statistics here, in 206, they didn't use avoid, deny, or defend. Over 90% are shot, just under 80% killed. In 211, they tried to keep them out. It just didn't work. 100% are shot, under 70% killed. In 207, the person was not able to make it back for a second attempt to kill people. And so 85% are shot, just under 40% killed. In 204, Professor Labrusco held the door shut, jumped out of the windows. Under 40% are shot, and over 10% are killed. In 205, they kept the person out, and no one was shot, and no one was killed. So this is just one example of avoid, deny, defend. And then if we're able to implement it into our plan somehow, some way, it is a good thing. It is a good thing. So the reality is that you are not helpless. What you do absolutely matters. If you are a visual learner, this is what it looks like. The attack starts. You're going to look for your primary exits. If you can get to your primary exits, that's great, and you're going to avoid this day. This is not a fire drill. You do not want to pull the fire drill. Why don't you want to pull the fire drill? Well, if you hear the fire drill, what are you thinking? You're thinking fire, right? You're not thinking active assailant. One of the problems at Parkland was the person pulled the fire alarm, or somebody pulled the fire alarm. I think it was him. But don't pull the fire alarm. This is totally different. So if you can't avoid, if you can't get to those primary exits, you're going to start thinking, what can I do to keep this person from getting to me, denying them access to you? Why you might be looking and searching for those alternate exits. Could be a window. It could be a door. I did this for a mental health facility in Annapolis. The person had worked there for 9 years. We were in one of their cafe areas. In the back of the cafe was an exit. It was a door from the room, led down some stairs, and there was a fire exit down that hallway. They didn't know that was an exit. They'd worked there for 9 years. So if we can get to those exits, keep this person from getting to us, knowing that if you can lock and barricade the door, you have a 98% chance of being a victor. I like those odds. If you can lock and barricade the door, 98% chance, that's awesome, right? Avoid and you're a victor, right? But if you can't get out, if you can't deny them access to you, you know you have the right to defend yourself. You have taken some self-defense classes to make sure that you have the ability somehow, some way to defend yourself, and you're still going to go home victoriously, right? So what happens when the police arrive? Our priority work is to stop the killing. What does that mean? If you happen to have been injured, we're going to step over you to go get the person who's doing the killing, because we know that every second absolutely counts. Then we're going to come back, render aid, work towards evacuating the area, right? Please, please, please follow our commands as much as possible. We fully understand about auditory shutdown and tunnel vision. We train under stress to help recognize it in ourselves, and we can see it in your face, believe it or not, right? And so, but please try and listen as best as you can. We need hands, empty hands, right? I've co-taught this with another instructor, like you could do the okay hold. No, I don't want anything in your hands, nothing at all. Please try not to move, right? So raise your hand if you have a smartphone. You have a smartphone? Oh, just about everybody. Pretty good. Go Verizon. That is a gun made to look like a smartphone. You could place your order in 2016. They shipped them out in 2017. So they're out there. My office, like I said, is at Arundel Mills Mall. I've been known to walk to the other side of the mall to go to Starbucks to get a coffee. I'm walking through the mall and I see someone on a phone, what I want to believe is a phone. What do I need to think? Is it a potential gun? It's out there. I know it's out there. The person that has one of those knows what they want to do with it. It is my job to react appropriately to it, right? Does that mean I'm walking around like this? Right? Looking? Where's your phone? I want to see hands, phones, hands, right? Yeah, no, you don't want to see a police officer walking around with his hand on his weapon all the time. It's hypervigilance for me. It's not healthy for me. And so, but it's my job to react appropriately. It's out there. Okay, confession's good. How many people have a stun gun? There's at least one in every group. Yeah. Literally. Okay. How many people know how a stun gun really works? Just saying. Any tool that you trade. So this is a taser on my left hip over here, right? It works by neuromuscular incapacitation. What does that mean? I'm authorized to use this according to my policies in the situation, right? So I pull this out, I shoot it. It shoots two probes. They're really darts. We call them probes. It's just friendlier, right? So we shoot it out there. I need to get a minimum of 12 to 18 inches of probe spread in order to impact muscle mass and muscle systems. A minimum of 12 to 18 inches. I pull this out, I shoot it, the probes go out, 12, I get good probe spread. It is my side partner's job to handcuff within 5 seconds because the energy stops flowing after 5 seconds. Why is that significant?
Because they can get up.
They get up. They're going to be right as rain. There's no more pain. There's no more incapacitation. They might be a little bit more PO'd than they were when we started, right? I have to justify every single trigger pull. There's a computer in here that tells my supervisors what I do with this, right? And so, when I bring that up to say this, if you have a stun gun, how far are your probes apart? Maybe 2 inches if you're lucky, right? It is not like you see in the television and in the movies where they have one and they always stun the person in the neck and the person falls down like a bag of bricks and they just lay there unconscious. No. I don't want you to have one and go, zap, ha ha ha, oh. Because really anything that you choose to use to help keep yourself safe is meant to disrupt their what? Their OODA loop. So it gives you that second to disengage and get yourself to safety because you're not going to incapacitate them. You might get a little weak. They might get a little weak kneed. You don't want to get weak kneed. They might get a little weak kneed. How many people have pepper spray? Come on. All right. Yeah, now we're talking. Oh. How old is it? Is it? It is a contents under pressure. It does expire. Does it have one of those little levers in the back in order to compress it? Maybe? Is that a fine motor skill? Yeah, probably. Yeah, it seems pretty simple though, doesn't it? Would we take that for granted? Yeah, more than likely. Do you know where the nozzle is? Do you know where the nozzle is pointing without looking at it? I'm just saying. You haven't failed. You haven't failed. What you've now realized is you need training. So you haven't failed. You just need training. You know who else needs training? My beautiful bride. She walks in the door. She has this pepper spray in this really cool leopard case. I'm like, what is that? It's pepper spray. Okay. That's great. Anything that you choose to have to use to protect yourself, you need to be able to function it without looking at it. You need to be able to function it without looking at it. If your threat is coming and you're fiddling down here looking for your stun gun or your pepper spray and you take your eyes off your threat, what have you just told this person? That you're not prepared and you've given them warning. Okay? So keep your eyes, if you think you have it, if you think you need to be able to function it without looking, keeping your eyes on your threat. Bueller? EMS is going to be delayed ever so slightly. We now have a program. We have 2 paramedics and 2 police officers that will follow us into a room that has been rendered safe. It's called warm, that there's no threat in, right? And so they're going to follow us through the building as we clear it and render it safe to render aid to those folks that need it. Now is to train. I heard earlier that your CPR AED class was canceled due to lack of interest. That's really one of the next best steps. I think the lady's name is Diane. I think she will come here for free and teach you stop the bleed training and give you a tourniquet. There are stuff out there that's free. Huh. You didn't pay for this either. So, right on. Seek training. Seek training. The more training that you have, the better. Expect mental trauma, of course. Who's going to do your trauma counseling? Will it come from the Methodist denomination? Do you have to take care of it yourself? Your pastors, your elders are going to need counseling. Everybody. So it needs to come from outside of your organization. So who is going to do that for you? Develop a critical incident stress management plan. Where's your rally point? All this stuff. 2 deep leadership. Both 2 people responsible for the same thing in the whole thing. Now's the time to prepare and train. Mental health first aid. It's a 2-day, 16-hour training. All of your police officers in Anne Arundel County are mental health first aid training. It is tools for your toolkit. It's helping you to recognize mental health issues and then giving you some tools to cope and deal with it. De-escalate until help really gets there, right? You're not a counselor at all. It's just giving you some tools to help to work with people in society today, right? Community Emergency Response Team is a 4-day, $60 class through our EOC, Emergency Operations Center, right? It's going to teach you everything that you could ever hope to learn. All the first aid you could ever hope for, how to suppress a fire with a fire extinguisher, how to, leverage things with really, like the cool things. You have a leverage and you push things up. You're going to lift up a big dumpster. You'll do a scenario at the end. It's a lot of fun. They have moulage, just like the movies. It's the real deal, Holyfield. It's really pretty cool, right? Citizens Police Academy is an 11-week program that I run. I'm taking applications now. We will start the middle of September and graduate right before Thanksgiving. We're going to invite the citizens of Anne Arundel County into your police department. We will show you why we are trained and how we are trained that way. You may get to shoot a taser, not at your spouse. You may get to use OC spray, inert, not the real thing, not at your spouse. You may get to drive a police car through a cone course slowly, right? It's a lot of fun. I think we have a graduate here. Not to throw you under the bus. But it's a lot of fun and very educational. CPR, AED training, if you're not, you probably should be. Guardian Shield is a publication that comes out digitally every 3 to 6 weeks from our agency. It's really pretty good. It is real-world information about what is happening in your community, your state, your nation, and worldwide, so we can have some good, solid information to kind of have an idea of what is going on in our society. And so, at the beginning, at the end of the day, avoid. You're going to know your exits of these places that you frequent. This is supposed to be 4 hours long. No lie, this is supposed to be 4 hours. So thank you, we're under 2. I did this training. It was on the same day as our anniversary. And I go home after work. We get dressed up for anniversary. We go to Carrabba's because we like pasta, and we had a gift card, and we're cheap. So we go to Carrabba's, right? And police are funny. We always like to sit with our backs to the wall and watch, right? This is a solid wall. I'm watching people. My wife is trying to have a conversation with me, right? And she's like, what's wrong with you? You're really distracted. What was I looking for? My exits. What had I become? Complacent, right? It happens to us all. It happens to us all. We just need to be intentional about making these changes now so that we're not any longer, right? Denying access, knowing how the doors function in these areas that you frequent and how to incapacitate them, right? Taking an extension cord, the head off the extension cord, throwing it underneath an outward swinging door would be like a reverse doorstop. You can take that extension cord now and tie it off inside the room, and it will act like it's pretty cool. Play around a little bit. It could be fun. Defending yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, know this. If you please, 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 if you need to take a self-defense class, do it. Do it. Whatever we can do to help strengthen our self-confidence in a realistic manner and go home at the end of the day victorious, then we are good. And so that is me. I am Shiloh at the top here. My awesome side partner, Megan Ott, does these also. If you are part of a community that has not had this yet, please feel free to reach out. Email. We're not in the office a whole lot. You could call if you want to. But send us an email. We will work to get you on the calendar. Your community should be in Anne Arundel County. It's a little hard for us to get outside of the county now. So other than that, questions, problems, concerns.
You said something about you had something to pass out to us?
If you want I can, maybe Jim or somebody can send me an email. I will send you a PDF of the slides, and then maybe they can send that out to you, and it'll have all the information on there.
Well, one of the things we want to do is figure out a way to get emergency information available to the members of the church, possibly on our website. But we're going to have to be careful what we put there because we don't want to give somebody an idea of what our planning is. But we'll if you can make it next week, we'll talk more about that at our planning, at our presentation next week.
Come to the meeting next week, and you'll get some very pertinent information. My pleasure. Yes, sir.
I have a question. You mentioned the paramedics going in.
Yep.
Fire department. Is that a team comprised from fire marshal's office since they are armed?
No.
From the fire marshals, no. Ours will be, we have paramedics, they do. I would take it back, they probably will be. Our fire marshals are the ones who go out with us. They do carry firearms, but that is not their purpose. Ours is, they're there for that part. The paramedics will be behind us. We will have the shields going on, and we will stand there, do their bodyguard while they get up and treat the patients safely. Fire marshals will be very self-see going there, but we do have those who are active paramedics who fly on our choppers and do go to SWAT team on all their entries.
What else you got? Going once. Going twice. This is actually my Friday. Not that I don't love you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Watch the red lights on the way home. We're watching.
Okay.